Informasi rencana kunjungan Gubernur Provinsi Xinjiang, Tiongkok, Erkin Turniyaz ke Inggris mendapat respon keras dari anggota parlemen dan sejumlah politisi di Inggris. Perjalanan Turniyaz dinilai sebagai upaya untuk mengubah persepsi dunia tentang praktik genosida atas etnis Uyghur di Xinjiang. Seruan penangkapan pun mengemuka. Sejumlah pihak berencana mengajukan tuntutan hukum pidana di Inggris berdasarkan perundang-udangan yang berlaku. Pengacara The World Uyghur Congress dan The Uyghur Human Rights Project, Michael Polak, menegaskan untuk kejahatan tertentu yang menyentuh nurani kemanusiaan seperti penyiksaan dan bahkan genosida, memungkinkan diberlakukannya tuntutan pidana yurisdiksi universal. Berikut hasil wawancara dengan Michael Polak.
Calls for the arrest of Xinjiang Governor Erkin Turniyaz have been echoed in the UK after he was named as committing crimes against humanity. Turniyaz should be arrested if he visits the UK. According to British MP Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, how do you respond?
So there was rumours that Mr. Turniyaz was going to come to the United Kingdom. Now, Mr. Turniyaz is governor of the Xinjiang province, which is where the terrible crimes against the Uyghur people are taking place, crimes against humanity, torture and even genocide being carried out against the Uyghur people because of their religion and because of their ethnicity. Ian Duncan-Smith from the Conservative Party called for his arrest. There was also calls for his arrest from Chris Bryant from the Labour Party, Alistair Carmichael from the Liberal Party as well. So right across UK government, UK Parliament, there were calls for him to be arrested. In English law, under Section 134 of the Criminal Justice Act, for the crime of torture, it doesn't matter where that takes place, there's jurisdiction for the English courts to try someone, to put someone on trial. Now, no one expected someone so high up within the Chinese regime and with so much responsibility for what's happening to the Uyghur people to actually attempt to come to the United Kingdom and to come to Europe. But we received the news that he was intending to come here. So there are grounds for a case to be brought against him here.
What are the legal rules of arrest and prosecution in accordance with international law?
In regards to international law, it's well recognised that for certain crimes which shock the conscience of humanity, such as genocide, crimes against humanity and torture, universal jurisdiction is lawful, which means that if you commit torture in one country, you can be put on trial in another one if you travel there. In regards to immunity for those at the very top of government, the case of Belgium against the Congo, the arrest warrant case, sets out that in customary international law, generally there's immunity for three people. That's the head of government, the head of state, and the foreign minister. Of course, Mr. Turniyaz doesn't fall within those categories. There's also something called diplomatic immunity, and there's lots of confusion in regards to diplomatic immunity. Lots of people say, well, he travels on a diplomatic passport, you can't arrest him. That's not correct as a matter of English law and international law. Someone has diplomatic immunity if they're recognized by a country as a diplomat in that country. So if someone is the ambassador or head of mission to France, they don't necessarily have diplomatic immunity when they go to Italy. So in Mr. Turniyaz's case, he wouldn't have diplomatic immunity in the United Kingdom unless the United Kingdom government recognized him as being part of a special mission to the United Kingdom and granted him that immunity.
Have you obtained permission from the Attorney General to make these demands?
We've made an application to the Attorney General of the United Kingdom because for the offence of torture, it requires the Attorney General's consent. There are many offences you can put someone on trial, you can privately prosecute them for in England and Wales, across the United Kingdom, where you don't need permission. Torture is an offence where you do need permission. So we've put the evidence before the Attorney General's office. They have a special section of that office which looks into consent for international crimes, and they're considering it. So we've got evidence which shows how responsible Mr. Turniyaz is for what happens underneath him in the camps. It's not hard to prove, given he's the governor of Xinjiang, that he has a key role in the suppression, the torture of Uyghur men and women there, who are put in prison without any role for courts, without any role for the law. They're sent into these horrible places. They're subject to torture simply because of their religion and their ethnicity.
What is your next plan, and will this plan be hindered by the Chinese government using its influence?
Now, the Chinese government thought that they could change perspectives in the United Kingdom, change perspectives in Europe by sending him across. They didn't quite realise the strength of the feelings about what's happening in the Uyghur region. The Western world is incensed about what's happening there and is really speaking up about it. So this is a really big coup, and it sends a very strong message back to Beijing that what they're doing there won't be accepted by the United Kingdom, by the European countries where he intended to travel as well.
Will Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office officials meet Erkin Turniyaz during his visit?
There were very mixed messages from the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office in regards to whether they were meeting. They said that no ministers would meet with him, but they didn't rule out officials meeting with him, which was something that activists and those helping the Uyghur people were very surprised about, because this is someone who is deeply involved in committing international crimes. As Alistair Carmichael, MP, said, he's an MP from the Liberal Democrats here, the only people who should be talking to Mr. Turniyaz are the Rozzers, meaning the police. So he should be talking to the police, he should be arrested. That's the only people who should be talking to him. So we're very surprised about that response from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, and we're interested to know whether they have attempted or they have granted this special type of immunity, special mission immunity to him.
What is the content of your demands to the Department of Justice?
So for international crimes, there's a special police force which has been set up in the United Kingdom called SO15. It's the Metropolitan Police's War Crimes Unit, and they're meant to look at offences which happen all around the world, genocide, war crimes and torture, and bring those cases and bring those people to justice. So we've made submissions to them that they should be investigating this case. We've made submissions to the Attorney General. The Attorney General, she must grant permission for either a private prosecution or the Met Police to actually bring a case against him. So there are these different units which are looking at the case against Mr. Turniyaz. Even though it seems now that he might not come to the United Kingdom, we want the permission because we think, because of the government's answers to us, we don't know if he's coming or not or when he might come. He might decide to come to the United Kingdom. So we need to be ready for when he does so, that we can summons him and he can face a criminal trial in the United Kingdom. The benefit to Mr. Turniyaz of coming to the United Kingdom and facing trial here is he will have a fair trial. He'll have a defence lawyer. He'll have a unbiased tribunal to decide whether he's guilty or not. That's not what the Uyghurs get when they go to courts or sent straight to prison in the Uyghur region. They're made to choose their punishment from a long list of crimes. There's no evidence. There's no process at all. People talk about the Chinese courts. They can't be called courts. They're not courts. It's a political process. There's no legal process in China, at least in the criminal sphere as well. So if he comes to the United Kingdom, he will get what he deserves, which is a fair trial and proper judgment with all the rights that a defendant should have in the criminal process.
What is the corroborating evidence?
There's a huge amount of evidence in regards to what's happening in the Xinjiang region. Huge amounts to say that systematic rapes, systematic forced abortions are taking place, systematic torture is taking place against the Uyghur people. There's huge amounts of evidence in regards to that. In regards to his responsibility, he oversees what happens in the region and he has a key role defending it internationally. So in regards to criminal responsibility, he has this overlaying role, watching over and he's very complicit in everything which happens in the camps there.
What advice do you have for international human rights organizations on this issue?
International human rights organizations need to be ready to bring cases like the one we were attempting wherever people like Mr. Turniyaz should travel. So they need to be ready with the evidence because with these cases you have very little time to actually bring a case. They'll travel and leave very quickly. So we need to be ready so we can catch these people when they do leave the region. Lots of people have said in the past, what's the point in collecting evidence against these people? They'll never leave. But then you get cases such as this, which give you this golden opportunity to bring people to justice so they can have a fair trial, so we can judge what's happening in the region against the Uyghur people.